Logaran Zechi and Zani Yang de Sochi Lacon Aminduto, a Rally Messeton la Tene. And in short, you Shina Sansone, Tatana Tono, and in Netu Mamu, Netu get it, and you want to Yondon, Timothy Australia, in number 0 now.
Doma, I mean, 1 million Tibetan children basically forcibly assimilated. This is what came out of the UN Special Rapporteur's press release in 2023 through that residential school system, the closure of Tibetan schools, monasteries, the separation of children from their parents. Is this economic?
Absolutely not. When Mao Zedong first invaded Tibet, he said that if we have to safeguard China, its national China as a territory whole, we have to occupy Tibet and take control over the Tibet as a territory and both the population. So what they did in the last 7 decades is during the cultural revolutions, they targeted Tibetan culture, but since Deng Xiaoping and then we have the Jiang Zemin and then Hu Jintao, they have developed this policy called development and stability. Because we are bringing development and then that's the only way for bringing stability and unity and then to control the protest. So if people are happy, they will not go and protest. But then at the same time, when you see the developments, you see the investment they are making, large part of the investment goes only to the infrastructure, building roads and all. Investment for the education of Tibetan people and also for the protection of culture is only about 2 to 3% of the big budget investment they are spending. So actually economic development is not really bringing the legitimacy and the loyalty they want to conquer from the Tibetan people. So that's again a failure. So what happened next? For China, Tibet, a sense of belonging, I as a Tibetan, that's the biggest challenge. So that's the residential building is the one of the mechanism to bring up the idea that you are not Tibetan, you are Chinese nation. Some parents even have to take away their children and run away in the forest to hide from that forceful, enrollment in that imposition. But what happened is in that schools, you have been forcefully abducted in their school and separation from your parents so that you couldn't speak Tibetan language. So now we see a different kind of videos that are coming from Tibet where children are like, we are not Tibet, we are Chinese. So that they are brainwashed and learn from the schools.
Right. And that erasure of identity that was mentioned. Sana, just very quickly, I mean, could you compare for us countries like India, the UK, United States, a huge diversity of languages, but they're not doing the same sort of thing, separating children from their families, closing down any local schools that might be teaching those language. Speaking of that new Chinese law, US Senator John Curtis said the Chinese Communist Party's new ethnic conformity law signals an escalation in Beijing's long-standing campaign to erase the cultural identities of Tibetans, Uyghurs, Mongolians, Christians and other minorities, all while giving the CCP a pretext to intimidate critics far beyond China's borders. Doma, if I could start with you first, could you, give us an overall sense of the feeling amongst the Tibetan community at this point in time, the feeling about Lobka, Mr. Rangan's death, China's new law? How are they responding?
As Tibetans, we are still processing what happened on 2nd July in front of the United Nations. And for me, it's emotionally, I need to take a lot of courage to speak whenever asked questions about Lobsang. Because and since he set himself on fire on 2nd July, yesterday in Taiwan, we marked the 2nd week of his death anniversary and also memorial. We had a prayer and all. So for us, there are a lot of different mix of emotion going on. It's emotions of anger. Tibetans all over the world, including Russians in India and also Taiwan, has been staging protests in front of the United Nations, calling for their silence on the Tibet issue, and also protesting the chief of the United Nations human rights. So if we read his video statement before he sets himself on fire, and if we read the act, how it has been carried, the act of self-immolation happened day after the implementations of the so-called ethnic unity and progressive law first. Second is the act happened just in front of the United Nations. And third, when he carried this act, he was holding a Tibetan national flag Fourth, he was wearing a Tibetan traditional dress that's symbolized our identity. Fourth, he was carrying a placard which says "Free Tibet and China out of Tibet." So this act is to call the international community, especially international community like the United Nations, that has we have a United Nations human rights clauses that promises of the protections of the human rights. So that has failed a long time. So in a way, you can say it's a desperate act to call the international community, not just targeting the Chinese ethnic law. So yes, absolutely.
The United States, Marco Rubio's very short ex-post last year, wishing the Dalai Lama a happy 90th birthday, triggered basically an attack by Chinese spokesperson Mao Ning, who asked him to stop meddling and said, as is widely known, the 14th Dalai Lama is not a pure religious figure, but a political exile engaged in anti-China separatist activities under the cloak of religion.
我们要强调的是，西藏自古以来就是中国领土不可分割的一部分。
How dangerous? We can see that this is cultural expression sort of being securitized outside of China. They're referring to the Secretary of State in the US tweeting. How dangerous is it that Beijing is deliberately blurring religion and politics in the form of the Dalai Lama?
Yes, China, as we see, when they speak about His Holiness, including the Secretary of State's, birthday wishes for His Holiness, and also including the reincarnations, there are a lot of irony and paradox going on because China is an atheist. CCP is an atheist party. They don't believe in religions, yet they want to interfere in the religious matter.
They don't believe in reincarnation, do they?
Absolutely. So His Holiness has said, first, if you want to interfere in the my reincarnation, first, why don't you go and find Mao Zedong reincarnation? But that is one thing. But what I wanted to say is they don't believe in religion and they want to interfere. And then irony is also that they call His Holiness as a splittist and demonize him with a different kind of name. But at the same time, they want to have a control over his reincarnations, religious, and also, like you mentioned, the kind of the securitizations of the cultures and religion outside China. So it's China for Tibetan, like I mentioned in my first point. Everything, including His Holiness, including identity, is securitized. For them, it's a matter of the national security. So yes.
Okay, we're going to have to end it there. Thank you so much, Dolma Tsaring and Sana Hashmi, for joining Taiwan Talks today. If you liked our show, please search for us on YouTube, give us a thumbs up, and hit subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching the show today. Stay safe and see you next time.
Tati no lo cha chong sen da ge thong tu yo ma dan yin nga ra za ga gan zang ji du jian thong tu yo de station de shim. Tati no lo zuo ne na da ga de sen la ga rang zhe ge rang li me chue pu la dian ne. An che wa de zhe ye ge ga de te du. Rin wa de zhe ga de te du, chu wa de zhe ga de te du. Den de ji to nga zhe da na man de wa meng yin na. Da che wa la ga rang zhe ge rang li me chue pu la dian ne zang ni nyang de ji zuo no lo ju do ga de te song la de. Zang ni nyang de ji zuo ge kono le ko amin du no da ga lo ge. Rangli meche piyo song zang, tini ke nyang zhi jie zuo ge da zhong qian de ga de lo de za yin na, ani ji dan da ge ko zhe dan ma zhe me dan zhe yin se, ani dan da lo ga rang zhe ge rangli meche piyo di me se nge ge le ga le nge de zhe yin na, ko no zhe ge da nyang zhi jie zuo ge de zong me na de yin da de, ani ji lo ga rang zhe ge rangli meche piyo le de ne, ani ji da lo ga rang zhe de zhe yo zhe la, ani ji tu su yo da.
Gabriel, please.
Thanks, Steph. A couple of questions. I know the Secretary General doesn't control what happens outside of the gates of this building. Nevertheless, on Thursday afternoon, a protester outside of the UN set themselves on fire. I think the word is self-immolation. Does the Secretary General have any comment about that incident?
Yeah, I mean, what happened on Thursday afternoon is absolutely tragic on a human level, on any level. Two of our security officers who were posted, who were just outside, saw what happened. They rushed across the street with fire extinguishers. They try to extinguish the flames. They were the first ones on the scene. Then we know the New York City Fire Department, police also showed up. We're obviously saddened by the tragic incident, and we offer our condolences to his family.
Does he have any comment about the issue that the protester was out in front of the UN for, or the issue he was protesting or raising?
The issue of
he was from Tibet.
Yeah, I mean,
the issue of Tibet.
Listen, it's hard to imagine what would propel a human being to do that to themselves. On the broader issue, I think for us it is, and the Secretary General said this many times, that in any country it is important that minorities are respected and that they are also made to feel as part of the whole.
Question from Reuters.
路透社，一个西藏独立运动人士在纽约联合国总部门前自焚身亡，外交部对此有何评论？
We've noticed relevant coverage. It is believed that relevant country would handle it in accordance with its own law. What I want to emphasize that Xizang has been always an inalienable part of China's territory since ancient times.
下一个问题。
Next question, please.
아니 사건 소소로 여기 간데 태송사. 사건도 전이나 다 먼저 봤다 이나 사건 전니까 사건 요즘 뭐 보여라. 이제 과동나든 사건 투자 뭐 보여라. 그래서 참아 놀 힌두 제는네 전에 로가랑这个让里面去当 아니지当一个对当这个呢当别个个吧。다 되게 되지 차청하나 있던데 제마 송예게 다 사건 지라 니지 요마. 다 이나 리자 사건도 다 대셔리스. 아니지 산에 코노 기유와 손장 누요 보스당 저저든 또 디텐요리스. 너나 사건도 돈을 발로 대통령 된대지리스. 다 대지서 놀는 거 가래서 이나 저다 베비가 나로. 다 베비가 놀는 거熊这个做熊다熊党啊熊这党熊这嘛因为做不党的呢他西都说说党你刚才给党他对那个做不党他对可能给老个可能给这场面弄就当到这样的是他对嘛在老个诺呀老个顺便呢老个里呀马个一弄就等于老个的看得见呢这个咱们给了那就看得见都场面我就当到这样的是因为啊，搞的就是呢，我这当然这单对的嘛都，我这第一头呢，上的呢，亚的都，你的那些，那个这看些嘛的，也是那么这的兄弟，你那我这单对的，当然这对的也是的，对的，刚大家那对啊，你那个这当他工作需要长嘛的，那这长嘛的我这这，他当然这样的，你那当然的这当的呢，他。3年说是小军的兄弟给你年最的这的我真的给拿了年的做卡都路的嘛都这些就有嘛的是这些没就的卡的讲这些就有嘛的是因那么做你有这个大家人那么长嘛的你这他不过习惯那个嘛的是那么咱们上那个国多有眼的那么咱们个这搞了刚上去团家的推荐他有眼的你千万都别的农区年最的这的还过眼的等这个因为一了下边个托呢那个原理呢都是呢大概那么做呢切通个托呢这些就有嘛的是切通个多这些没就在搞的是那么这个上那个多的奥子全部都有记了那个一切的热话等等这些多呢这些就没啥的当然我做老家让这个让里面去票来点呢我做搞了刚上去到那这有的是但当然呢我做大个的是参嘛但大个在工作但他对的看了松山松当就算记得小区管大个有西南上松就管大个有你还是八松就管大个有前提中松就管大个第一头那个这大个的是他这个有难的大当的我这个日子呢大当这样但他刚懂我这那年我就不要给来办了家小就主要俺一头呢你刚啦刚给接大继续对刚个接吧的是刚接吧的是刚了接吧的是接大接吧的是继续接吧的是穷啊他们弄了呢我这都是讲呢主要俺一头大头个的是第大头啊呢我这那段搞了刚上去他搞了个就拉头的啥的他拉给你多那么准的点个探究个那么准主要那的他们个让数的是让家的是搞的是呢那个让这个让里面去比呢可能不说中吧的主要没这些东西解决的搞的是呢厕所跟就这样的他的 这个来开学的，这是我们就这的。第一东岸的快牛啊，快牛在这他们怎么那个生计干的人呢？现在呢，我就开始接头的是，现在说呢生计等偏个我就开始接的。第我这个热话的一切呢，他的介绍的，他全路所说了蛮多有的呢，我就哪不哪去接呢？你去单位去送肉，你就把等把的落了说把接，第一就是弄了，你花的没闹接，我得嘞是，等到送账俺那么做个对东家呢，你开始学个月的是呢，讲的那个技能，你搞了个技能。大民党大约上这个银行这个，你搞的就是那么做呢，水军那路多呢，工业园那些个，全都那么做了，你平时给具体个钱多呢，你外面拿了就是得讲究是在那个月的，等到多得的是，那么做得凶得凶，但是那样那么做呢，你这大老个人生最别个，按照你才能得在那了，你这那么做个马街街呢，你的。你大人，老人，马通着呢，出干嘛？你把东西你那么这个电脑上呢是，你外面那着呢是那么整天天气选对凶，你大家等待经验，等你那么做呢，你大概老个就是工作那么做呢，你个先比较那样，那么做呢，等到人呢，没对呢，先比较对人，那么这个你的日菜就是呢，都是讲外面那着呢是的学因，他们大人工作上在学跟手上就把学生。